So hey everyone, I mentioned this last week on my video before I moved to Spain that I might re-upload a video I made about former Love Island contestant turned podcaster on YouTube, Chris Williamson. Now, I've been actually watching the video today and wondering, should I re-upload it? It's actually kind of weird watching back your content from only like, I guess, what's this, like 9 months ago and criticizing it. Basically, I am going to re-upload it and I'm going to let you see who this guy is. If I had to make this video again, I would probably be a lot more critical in tone. But basically, Chris Williamson has a podcast that mainly platforms some of the worst right-wing grifters on the internet. You're talking people like Lindsay, Andy Knowles, Sargon of a Card. I also made a video about the right-wing podcast grift circuit, talking about Yonmi Park, Michael Malice, and other people like that, Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, appearing on the same podcast, like Lex Fridman and like Trigonometry and all these right-wing podcasters. Chris Williamson's essentially like a knockoff version of them. He's kind of like the British Dave Rubin as well, in essence, because you'll see in the podcast, he just lets his guests speak. Now, I have a theory about this. His channel now isn't actually doing that well. Despite having a lot of subscribers, my channel, if you look at our views, is so much better than Chris's. My theory is that maybe he doesn't actually believe a lot of these political things. He's just getting on guests that would make him popular, essentially. Although he does say he got really nervous talking to Sargon of a Card. So you can make your own mind up about where your politics might lie if you're getting excited about speaking to Sargon of a Card. Now, the only difference between now and April is that Chris Williamson has had like one liberal guest on, and that's David Pakman. I've made my own videos talking about why I don't like David Pakman, because a lot of you seem surprised. I don't know why, since I'm a left-wing anti-capitalist and David Pakman is a liberal capitalist. A lot of you are surprised about that. I've made a video talking about all our differences. But other than that, he's got a lot more celebrity guests on, but he's also got a lot more right-wing grifters on. So essentially, he's just another podcast in this extending right-wing grifting YouTube podcast ecosystem that completely dominates the platform. That being said, I've re-edited the video. I've taken some stuff out. Now, if the audio sounds worse, it's because I'm now living in a studio apartment, which is nice and everything. But at the same time, it's very, very echoey. So I'm thinking in my actual video, I'm going to have to turn into like one of those like British YouTubers who hold the mic right up to their mouth like they're about to sing a song. So if you see me starting to hold the mic right up to my mouth when I'm recording the video, that is why, because the sound here is pretty terrible. Also, there is loads of noise, dogs barking, kids outside, people just slamming things. You guys who live in apartments will probably know the struggle, but it's my first time living in an apartment and not a house. So I apologize for the audio quality. That being said, if any of you have good suggestions how you can be on camera using a mic and have better audio in an echoey place, please let me know. I know there are some expensive software programs you can buy which people use when they have loud air conditioning in hot places, but if you have any suggestions, please let me know in the video. If you've already watched this video before, some of you may have, I had about 20k subs when this came out, feel free to not watch it again, but please also like the video, maybe subscribe to the channel, check out my Patreon, and follow me on social media. I've got 2 good videos planned for the rest of the week that aren't re-uploaded content or anything like that, so stay tuned for that. And please now see the weird ex-Love Island contestant Chris Williamson and his right-wing grifting podcast channel.
Hi friends, my name is Chris, this is Modern Wisdom, and it's finally that time. Today, you're going to learn everything there is to know about the application process and my best advice for getting on the UK's biggest reality TV show, Love Island.
There was probably a hope that after Biden won the election, perhaps the Antifa violence would calm down.
Yeah, so that didn't happen. We're now many weeks until 2021, and there's been more than a dozen riots that have happened in the Pacific Northwest.
I was the first person through the Love Island Villa doors on season 1, and I probably didn't have any right to be there. But with a bit of clever presentation and understanding of what the producers wanted, I managed to get myself on Love Island and Take Me Out within the space of 2 years. James, can you try and take us through a journey? Let's imagine that we're at, is it Epcot at Disneyland or whatever it might be, and we're going to go on a little roller coaster, and we're going to sit in the roller coaster, and this is social justice from beginning until now, and we're going to sit in there. So where are we going first? Where's the roller coaster take us first?
I want to take you to Frankfurt. And by Frankfurt, I actually mean Frankfurt kind of and mostly New York City, because the Frankfurt school was mostly in New York City.
Number 3, if you've got a girlfriend or a boyfriend and your plan is to dump them a week before you go on, the UK press will find out and make you look like a massive being honest, if you're even planning on applying to a dating show while you're in a relationship, it's probably a warning sign. So maybe Love Island is perfect for you and you should just dump them now.
I think in the UK, we're already used to kind of British national pride being seen as the realm of racists and working class thugs, right? Like hanging a flag up's the sort of thing that the Community Watch ring the council about. And you get people around to your house. I wonder if America will end up like that. I fear not. I don't think that they will. I think that it's too strong, that patriotism. It's been very, very, very ingrained, but the left do definitely seem like they're making a good job of trying to deconstruct that.
Yeah, I mean, they're very good at playing the long game.
Ideal scenario is for the casting researchers to come to you via your DMs, or if you've got a friend who works at ITV or once was on the show, they may be able to put you in touch with someone. But if you don't, open applications have started now through ITV's website, and the link is in the description below.
So, where's your head at? And can we go for a little chat, mate? You may have heard these two sayings if you've ever watched the show Love Island. Now, that is from the UK one, but there are multiple versions. There's an Australian one and an American one, which are very, very popular. Can you go from being a fan of the show Love Island to falling down some sort of far-right rabbit hole? Now, I know this sounds like a bit of a joke, and it is a tiny bit tongue-in-cheek, although it does kind of exist in a way. But today we're going to be talking about Chris Williamson, who was on Love Island UK in 2015, and now he has a podcast YouTube channel where he talks about a whole host of things, being on Love Island, talks about fitness, talks about CrossFit. He also talks about philosophy and politics. The trouble being, nearly everyone he gets on is some sort of weird conservative or far-right figure, and there is an attempt at a tiny bit of, nuance and balance by trying to platform some other people. We're going to get into my criticisms of him and just talk about his channel in general. Please like the video, because you guys should appreciate how much stuff I have to sit through. Like, watching this stuff, I feel like makes me dumber and just makes me angry about how, like, ridiculous some of these takes are. So please, to show your gratitude, please like the video. Now, Chris Williamson was on Love Island 2015. I don't actually watch Love Island. I think I've watched about 2 episodes because my girlfriend was watching it, and I just had a massive go at her the whole time about how rubbish and stupid it was. But in the UK, safe to say, it's a bit of a phenomenon, because at one point it felt like every single person in the UK just watched this show, and they would never stop talking about it. Like, I'd go out with my friends, and for some reason they'd all be talking about Love Island. Even the people I thought better of, if you're watching this video, you know which friends I'm thinking of here. But I was like, I can't believe you watch this trash, because it is the most trashy TV ever. But, you know, maybe I don't fault the people for going on it, because it's great for clout, it's great for building a social media career, but it is, as like a viewing experience, it's such a waste of time, and it's such a big time commitment, because it's on like most nights every week when the season is running. But this guy was on it, you know, a fair few years ago, and he spoke about this at length in the beginning of his YouTube podcasting career. And he was given interviews about what it's really like to be on Love Island. So if you guys really care about that stuff, go sort by his channel and look at the oldest videos, and you'll see a lot more of this Love Island type stuff. But slowly and slowly, this guy became, I guess, more philosophy, politics oriented. He actually really reminds me of Brian Rose and London Real, the YouTube channel. I'll give more credit to Brian Rose, despite being very similar to Chris Williamson in that it's very, very slanted towards the right wing in terms of guests he get on his podcast. Brian Rose is a bit better because he does genuinely have some leftist people on occasionally. But I think this is like the Joe Rogan ideology stuff, where it's like these bros who love fitness, who love fighting, who love politics and philosophy, but maybe aren't, you know, as well versed in it as most people. So they'll hear a Jordan Peterson, Douglas Murray, they'll hear, you know, a James Lindsay or something like that, and they think these guys really know what they're talking about and they're intellectuals. It goes, you know, for New Atheism as well, people like Sam Harris, where people will absolutely love this stuff, but not realize a lot of these guys are super problematic, and not just super problematic, but they're very, very wrong in a lot of their views. And even the collaborations between them are really weird. Now let's do a bit more of a deep dive into Chris Williamson himself. So like I said, his old stuff is mainly like fitness, philosophy, and like CrossFit, talking about Love Island, you know, that's all whatever. But then he starts getting more right-wing people on. Now, someone he seems to be pretty obsessed with is Sargon of Akkad, or Carl Benjamin.
Carl Benjamin, Sargon of Akkad, on the show a few months ago. I've spoken to Carl before. We get on really well. Episodes are great. But for some reason, I had this ambient anxiety throughout the day leading up to it. And I started talking to him, and I was really nervous. I don't usually get nervous, especially when speaking to guests for a second time.
And the thing is with Chris Williamson, like a lot of other podcasters, he doesn't really put across his own ideology in politics. You kind of have to discern them by how friendly he is with these people and how much he often agrees with them, but he doesn't necessarily say explicitly. So what happens a lot of the time is these Sargon clips and podcasts, it's just Sargon talking most of the time, Chris coming in, asking a question, maybe saying, yeah, I agree with you on that point, but not elaborating too much. So I'm going to play you a few clips of Sargon here.
Is someone killing American national pride?
Oh, absolutely. It's the left. And it's been a coordinated effort for at least the last 2 decades. And honestly, I remember back in about 2001, in fact, that I was kind of a part of it without knowing it, a sort of conscious attempt to undermine American patriotism. And I think that that has been successful. I think that much of the left now openly admit that they hate America. And the communists who have been pushing this view of the world have been very, very successful in planting the seeds in the left and destroying the patriotic left, the sort of, you know, the sort of working class left who actually like America and just want the rich to give them a bit of the pie. Those people have been totally marginal. And you're right, obviously over here, it's gross how unpatriotic we're allowed to be. This is why I've got the flag behind me. I'm not naturally a flag flying guy like this. You know, it's not something that I would naturally do, but in the current circumstances, given the current context, oh yeah, we're having a British flag, you know, and if we get told off for that, an English flag goes up as well, if that's what they want, you know. I'm not backing down on this. You know, I bought an English flag a while ago for the first time ever, and I was like, okay, what do I do with it now? Like, you know, do I go and fly this outside my house? Is that going to be imposing on the neighbours? I don't know, but I bought it just to say I had it because I'm sick of the genuinely anti-patriotic feeling that the left is pumping out, and they view national pride as a barrier to communism, which it is, which is why we should support and uphold it, which is why you should get a flag.
Yeah, fair point. Give me your thoughts on AOC. I know that you like to think about it sometimes.
Not really. Unfortunately, she's kind of forced into the dialogue, isn't she?
When
yeah.
she injects herself into the news.
Yeah, I basically view her as a kind of like a Robespierre, really. I think that she's very much like Robespierre. She's a politician or a political actor, and she's a radical, a real radical, and she is uncompromising. She does not consider the Republicans to be moral agents. She views them in the same way that the hobbits view the agents of Sauron, you know, the Nazgûls. She views them like that. The fact that they exist is an unfortunate necessity, and the fact that she has to deal with them, but she will attack them as viciously as possible at every opportunity that she gets. This is not a good faith actor. This is someone who is here to harm you. They're here to undermine you. They're here to destroy you. They're here to get rid of you as much as possible.
Now, there are lots of videos of Sargon. Now, Sargon and people like him, like the, you know, maybe even the court-ring, like to frame themselves as like more liberal, classical, conservative people. But they really don't differentiate, in my mind, from American conservatism in a lot of aspects. And even with Sargon here talking about how he respects, like, you know, American nationalism and everything like that, to me, it doesn't really seem like he's too different. Maybe on certain issues, you know, he may be, but he's part of this pipeline because he is one of the more, you know, far-right figures. Think even about his EU election campaign where he just said awful, awful stuff. And he is part of this intellectual dark web skeptic group who are really united mainly by hating on the left. Now, this is the problem with Chris's channel, and he might not see it as a problem, but I see it as a problem for radicalizing people. Not only does he have Sargon of Akkad on, which I find problematic, but, you know, I'm not like calling for him to be deplatformed or anything, but then he also has Andy No, Dave Rubin, Douglas Murray, James Lindsay as well. All of these people, in my mind, Andy No, far right, Dave Rubin, sellout, who will happily platform the far right. Douglas Murray, in my mind, is pretty far right conservative. James Lindsay as well. These guys have super problematic views. So Andy No, for example, is happy to help fascists, is happy to demonize anti-fascists, basically makes up scandals to cover for fascists and people like the Proud Boys to try and make this fictional entity, which is meant to be like a global organization known as Antifa, and paint them as these people who are going to bring about the downfall of Western society. Douglas Murray is this typical like IDW guy who's talking about Islam and the migrant crisis, not the refugee crisis, the migrant crisis, and how this will destroy Europe, change the face of Britain. You might have heard him collaborating with Sam Harris where they say this stuff. I made a whole video about this argument about, you know, demographics and Muslim refugees and stuff. So I'm going to play you a little montage of all this stuff and you guys can see how he is sort of this British Dave Rubin where he'll platform these people and he won't have much pushback against them. He respects a lot of these people and he likes them. And basically, he just gives them a platform to say whatever they want. There's no grilling here. There's no massive pushback or anything like that. So like I said, like a British Dave Rubin.
But I devoted the book to Ben Affleck because I tell the story in the book about how Affleck actually, believe it or not, was a key piece to my political awakening. And in that very moment, I saw exactly what I had been thinking was wrong with the left, exactly what I had been thinking was wrong with the progressives in stark daylight. I had had these thoughts for a while, you know, if you're calling everybody a bigot, you're always morally right and with this indignation and anger. But suddenly to see it turned on this mild-mannered neuroscientist who I didn't even know who he was at the time.
People on the mainstream left who have been feeding and growing this beast because they shared a mutual enemy in the Trump administration or against Republicans, whatever. Well, now this beast is too big to slay. And we've seen the violence that they've carried out. They've attacked, they've assaulted the mayor of Portland. The mayor of Portland, Ted Wheeler, is somebody who gave them the space to grow under his watch. And they turned around and have attacked him.
What have we learned from J.K. Rowling this year?
Wow. Well, who ever thought that the creator of Harry Potter would become Goebbels? I mean, the most unforgivable, cancelled person. It's extraordinary. I never thought that the Harry Potter, I never thought that the people who are great fans of J.K. Rowling would turn on her this much.
James, can you try and take us through a journey? Let's imagine that we're at Epcot at Disneyland or whatever it might be, and we're going to go on a little roller coaster, and we're going to sit in the roller coaster, and this is social justice from beginning until now, and we're going to sit in there. So where are we going first? Where's the roller coaster take us first?
I want to take you to Frankfurt. And by Frankfurt, I actually mean Frankfurt kind of and mostly New York City because the Frankfurt School was mostly in New York City. The groundwork for what became known as a social movement known as the New Left. And the New Left is what was responsible for all of the, when you talk about the crazy politics of the 1960s and all of the riots, especially around 1968, the New Left was really what was responsible for that. So these guys' vision for how society should be organized and ultimately viewed through critical theory in order to overthrow the hidden oppressions and injustices of liberalism and Western civilization became a huge political movement on the far left.
Also, I don't know if you noticed in the James Lindsay clip, he doesn't explicitly say this at the start, but he's talking about the cultural Marxism conspiracy theory, which he believes in, while he's talking about critical race theory, right? So that is like an outright alt-right Nazi conspiracy theory that is being platformed on Chris's channel. Obviously, I don't expect most people to know this so much because people like Jordan Peterson have normalized this conspiracy theory, and Jordan Peterson is also set to go on this channel soon. So I've made videos about how Jordan Peterson brought this conspiracy mainstream. Cultural Marxism often ties in nicely with Judeo-Bolshevism, and Nazis love this stuff going mainstream because it isn't much of a jump with cultural Marxism to jump to Judeo-Bolshevism. So basically they believe that academia is being taken over by Marxists and it's a Marxist plot to destroy the West. The only jump from that you actually need to take, yeah, you know, Marxists are infiltrating academia, and do you know who is ordering that stuff? It's the Jews. And because back in the day, Judeo-Bolshevism really made no distinction between them. Either you were a Marxist working for the Jewish conspiracy, or if you were a Marxist Jew, that was just, you know, how you got your agenda through, like people like Lenin, people like Karl Marx. And cultural Marxism, to me, really goes hand in hand with it, although it is a newer one. You're not going to know Chris Williamson from anything else, pretty much, unless you find him through his collaborations with these guys. The only thing you're going to know him from is Love Island. And I'm thinking about the type of men who watch Love Island. So let's say you love Love Island, you love Joe Rogan. Now you're following Chris Williamson, who talks to similar people to Joe Rogan. And let's say you watch all of this stuff. The one through line with this stuff is it's all anti-woke, anti-left content, right? And I spoke about this before with YouTube podcasts. If you have a host who maybe doesn't know this stuff as well as his guest, who doesn't offer any pushback, you're basically just being fed this information like it's fact. Like a lot of people who watch Joe Rogan, you think anything these people say is legit because some of them are, you know, posing as intellectuals or are well-spoken or can construct an argument, so you can be influenced pretty easily. And that's how you become a former Love Island contestant who then starts platforming people pushing conspiracies on your YouTube channel, probably without realizing it. This stuff is very, very helpful to make people more radical because a lot of these people, Andy No, Douglas Murray, James Lindsay, Carl Benjamin, have these more radical politics, or you have people like Dave Rubin who will platform people with these radical politics. So let's just say if most of your political exposure in your life is from Joe Rogan and Chris Williamson, you're probably going to have pretty radical right-wing politics. Just like with other, you know, friendly podcasts like H3H3 or Joe Rogan, there is potential, if you don't have critical thinking, for you to go down an online rabbit hole that will radicalize you into the views of a lot of these people. With Chris's channel, it's like, the left is bad, woke mob is bad, Antifa is evil, cultural Marxism is real, mixed in with all my, you know, fitness stuff, CrossFit, and Love Island content. Doesn't help that all these guys always collaborate with each other, so you get into that ecosystem where you think these guys have sort of normal views, even though they are very radical conservative. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please like the video for all the pain I put myself through watching this channel and watching all these people I don't really like talk at length for a couple hours. If you want to find me on social media, at the Kavernacle, Twitter and Instagram. Support my work on Patreon and join our communities on Discord and my subreddit. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching.